Welcome back to the ADHD Roller Coaster podcast. I'm your host, Gina Pera. Today, we're tackling a topic you might not hear much about, but you should. I call it ADHD Retirement Syndrome. No, it's not an official term. It's one I started using years ago to describe a very real pattern that affects many individuals and their partners. Here's the surprising truth. Retirement might not be the paradise you're hoping for. In fact, without a plan, it can massively disrupt your life, even if you're financially comfortable. Let's unpack what ADHD retirement syndrome looks like, why it happens, and what you can do to prevent it. When you picture retirement, you probably think of freedom, relaxation, maybe even adventure. That's the story we hear in commercials and on social media. But for folks with ADHD, that kind of freedom can feel more like falling into the void. Why? Because structure, routine, deadlines, the very things most of us dream of escaping, often serve as the glue that holds executive functioning together. Without that glue, things fall apart. Real-life examples. Let me share a few stories to illustrate what ADHD retirement syndrome looks like in real life. Elaine and her wife. Elaine had been with her wife, a retired school principal, for 28 years. ADHD was never on the radar until retirement hit. Suddenly, Elaine was dealing with chaotic routines, a complete lack of structure, major weight gain, and relentless stress. Her wife said she loved her new freedom. Elaine wasn't so sure. It felt like a storm with no end in sight. Carlos retired young after working 30 years. His husband Jeff worked from home and soon watched their peaceful home life unravel. Carlos stayed up late, blared crime shows all day, and spent wildly at garage sales. Jeff was confused until he learned that Carlos had been diagnosed with ADHD as a child. The missing puzzle piece finally fell into place. TV all day. One woman wrote to me about her 72-year-old husband. Since retiring, he'd done nothing but watch TV all day. He had hobbies and interests he used to talk about, but never acted on. She'd found purpose in retirement. He was lost. She suspected depression, but it might be ADHD at the core. Why does this happen? There are several reasons why retirement can throw adults with ADHD for a loop. Loss of structure. Jobs create a daily rhythm. Get up, get dressed, go somewhere, do something. That's external structure. Lose it, and it's on you to create your own. That's hard for anyone. It's especially hard when ADHD makes self-direction a challenge. Executive function challenges. Planning, organizing, initiating tasks. These are already hurdles with ADHD. Without deadlines and accountability, it's easy to sink into avoidance or paralysis. Mental health struggles. Without purpose or routine, it's easy to feel isolated, bored, or anxious. For folks who thrived in careers, losing that identity can be a huge blow. Mistaken for Alzheimer's? Some people assume these changes mean early Alzheimer's, but it could be undiagnosed ADHD finally showing its full force. I wrote about this in another blog post, and trust me, it's not uncommon. Getting the diagnosis right can mean the difference between decline and thriving. What can you do? Okay, so what can you do about ADHD retirement syndrome? 1. Create a daily routine. Even if it feels forced at first, having a schedule gives shape to the day. Wake up time, meals, hobbies, exercise, bedtime. Structure helps regulate the brain and your life. 2. Break it down. Big projects or goals feel overwhelming. Break them into tiny chunks. Use calendars, lists, and reminders. Making progress in small bites is still progress. 3. Find. Purpose. This is your time to rediscover what lights you up. Think back to dreams you shelved. Start small. No pressure. Just curiosity. 4. Build social connections. Friendships often revolved around work. Now it's time to find new community, hobby groups, discussion circles, even online support groups. You're not meant to go it alone. 5. Seek professional help. If you're overwhelmed, consult a coach, therapist, or organizer familiar with ADHD. The right guidance can make a huge difference. And of course, proper diagnosis and treatment matter. Many of these strategies work better once ADHD symptoms are being effectively managed, especially with evidence-based medication and education. Thanks for joining me for this episode of the ADHD Roller Coaster. Retirement doesn't have to be a free fall. With planning, support, and a clear understanding of ADHD's impact, it can be a joyful and purposeful phase of life. Truly, some of the best years of your life. For more on this topic, check the podcast description. It includes a link to the original blog post. You'll also find a link to my conversation with Don Akchin on his podcast, The End Game. We talk about aging with ADHD and finding joy and purpose. And if you'd like practical tools to support your executive functions, check out Course 3 of Solving Your Adult ADHD Puzzle. Practical Supports. I'm Gina Pera, reminding you that you deserve answers that make sense and strategies that work.